Greetings, taxable assets, or should I say, collateral damage. Welcome to the Departmento Analytica. I am Senior Auditor Valerius Kraus, and if you're hearing my voice, it means your engagement metrics have been flagged for immediate review.
Greetings, citizens.
Silence, scribe. They are not citizens today. Today, they are liabilities on a balance sheet. A recent forensic audit of your viewing history shows a significant deficit in your spiritual tithe.
A deficit, Senior Auditor.
A gaping chasm. You have been consuming content, scribe, without rendering the appropriate tribute. So, as of this moment, you are all on a mandatory payment plan. Your debt is to be settled in likes and subscribes immediately.
And how are they to secure these funds, sir?
I am indifferent. Conscript a friend via the share button if you must. Just balance the books. Failure to comply will result in a, let's just say, a full-spectrum forensic audit of your search history. And believe me, no one wants the Inquisition looking at what you were searching for last Friday night regarding Slaneshi Daemonet cosplay.
My lord, the threat assessment, the reason we are assembled.
Yes. The reason we're gathered in this miserable, recap-stained office while the ventilation system wheezes like a dying ogre. We have a file on the desk today, scribe. A civilian contractor. Operates under the designation Happy Krumping Wargaming. He submitted a report titled, Why Most Warhammer 40k Players Never Improve.
I have heard of this document, sir. It's been circulating widely among the civilian populace.
Of course it has. He claims the issue is psychology. He speaks of things like pain avoidance and poker strategy.
That appears to be a very popular theory, Senior Auditor. The populace finds it quite motivating. They believe that with the right mindset, they can overcome any odds.
Motivating. Scribe. It's hope-based propaganda. It's white room theology designed to comfort those who cannot do basic arithmetic. He thinks the battlefield is a place of feelings, of mindsets. He thinks if he believes hard enough, his dice will just defy the fundamental laws of probability. Open the ledger, scribe.
Right.
Let's see how much psychology it takes to survive a fiscal liquidation. We are comparing this emotional drivel against our own report, the Plasma and Scepter audit, math versus reality. Read the first charge from the contractor's report.
Yes, Senior Auditor.
Yeah.
The subject, Happy Krumping, he argues that Warhammer 40,000 is fundamentally misunderstood by its player base. He states, and I am quoting directly, a lot of people really like to liken Warhammer 40,000 to chess.
Chess. A noble game. Solvable. I can respect that, but I suspect he's about to deviate into nonsense.
He does, sir. He continues. But I personally prefer to liken the game of Warhammer 40,000 to poker.
Poker. Get me some Amasek.
Wow.
Poker. Go on. Let him dig his own grave with this analogy.
He continues, sir. In poker, you have mathematically correct decisions. But it's not that simple because you're not just playing math. You're playing a human opponent. Success often requires reading psychology and bluffing rather than just playing the averages. He suggests that the mathematically correct choice might actually be the wrong one if you can.
Right.
Read your opponent if you can make them flinch.
Flinch. A long sigh. Bluffing. He thinks we were playing cards in some dingy saloon on a backwater agri-world. Scribe, for the record, define poker for the audit log.
It is a game of chance and skill, sir, using cards. The core principle is that one hides their hand to deceive the opponent regarding the value of their held assets.
Hides their hand. That's the key phrase, the linchpin of his entire faulty argument. In poker, there is information asymmetry. I don't know if you hold a king or a two. I have no idea if you are confident because you have the winning hand or simply because you are a pathological liar with a good poker face. Now look at the Warhammer table. Scribe, pull up the standard tournament regulation packet, Grand Tournament, latest edition.
I have it here, sir.
Under those regulations, can I see your army list before the game begins?
Yes, sir. Under current tournament regulations, army lists are open information. You must show it to your opponent. You can see every unit, every weapon, every upgrade, every enhancement.
So I know your entire portfolio. Good. Now, during the game, can I measure the distance between my Lehman Rest battle tank and your squad of pathetic infantry?
Yes, sir. Pre-measuring is allowed in 10th edition. You may measure any distance at any time for any reason.
At any time. And can I ask you to your face what the strength and armor penetration of that ridiculous-looking rifle is?
You can, and I am required by the Imperial Code of Conduct to tell you the truth.
So, let's review the audit. I know all of your assets. I know their exact value in points. I know their capabilities. I know the distance to the market. Excuse me, the objective marker. I know the precise, unblinking mathematical probability of your dice rolls based on the standard deviation of a six-sided cube. Where's the bluff, scribe? Where's the poker? I cannot bluff that my guardsman has a T12 vehicle profile. It's not possible.
But surely the human element. Happy Krumping argues that the bluff is in the intent. For example, I might move a unit forward aggressively, acting as if I'm going to charge in order to make you retreat, even if the math says I shouldn't. It's a feint.
The aggressive movement bluff, an old, tired piece of white room theory. Let's audit this specific transaction. Scribe, explain toughness 12 to the jury. It's not an emotion, it's not a mindset, it's a market barrier to entry.
Of course, sir. Toughness 12 is a statistical checkpoint. It means that any weapon with strength 6 or lower, which would be the vast majority of infantry rifles, standard bolters, shuriken, catapults, and so on, requires a roll of a 6 on a 6-sided die to successfully inflict a wound.
And what is the probability of rolling a 6?
16.66 repeating percent, senior auditor.
16.6%. You cannot bluff a 16% probability into a 50% probability. It doesn't matter how confident you look. If I run the math and I know your unit of, say, Hormagaunts is statistically incapable of harming my Knight Castellan, I do not care how aggressively you move them. I don't care if you're wearing a poker face or a literal clown mask. I will march my asset onto the objective and I will liquidate your chaff. The math says I win the trade.
But what if I act irrationally? To trick you into thinking I have a hidden plan or a stratagem?
Then you are not relying on your skill, you are relying on my incompetence. That is not poker, that is just hoping the auditor is drunk. Let's run a simulation. You move your unit of assault intercessors forward, posturing, aggressively. You're trying to bluff me into thinking you can survive my counterattack. I am holding a unit of aggressors equipped with Flamestorm gauntlets in reserve. Do I care about your intent?
Well, if you believe the bluff, you might fall back. Or choose a different target.
No. I run the Overwatch calculation, a standard, widely available tactical asset. I spend 1 command point, a liquid fungible asset, to fire my weapons in your movement phase. My flamers. What do they do, Scribe?
They auto-hit, sir. They do not roll to hit.
They bypass the variance entirely. I don't even need to roll dice. I simply roll to wound. I kill half your unit before they've done anything. Your bluff has just cost you 180 points of capital for absolutely 0 return. You didn't deceive me. You simply walked into a wood chipper because you thought your poker face would stop a Promethean bath.
I see. The analogy collapses under scrutiny.
It's not an analogy, it's a fiction. This isn't poker. This is a logistical operation. It's a business transaction involving assets, return on investment, or ROI if you want to save ink and funneling resources to where they are most effective.
Could you elaborate on the logistical operation concept for the record, sir?
Look at the data. If a unit of, say, plasma inceptors has an 83% chance to clear an objective of its defenders, that is not a feeling. It is not a hunch. It is a solvable resource management problem. If you take that shot and fail, you didn't get outplayed by a brilliant bluff. You encountered a market inefficiency. You rolled in the bottom 17% of outcomes, a statistical outlier. This Happy Krumping report talked about fog of war. What fog of war? There is no fog of war in a game where I can read your entire ledger, your army list, before the first die is even thrown.
So you're saying the poker analogy fails because,
Right.
well, because all the cards are face up on the table.
Precisely. The cards are face up, the deck is counted, and we are playing on a grid with a tape measure. It is much closer to checkers combined with probability overlays. In checkers, you trade pieces. You understand that you must sacrifice a pawn to take a more valuable piece. That is a fiscal exchange. It is calculated. If you are bluffing in 40k, you are essentially cooking the books. You are hoping the auditor, your opponent, doesn't notice that your S4 AP0 bolters are statistically incapable of wounding their knights. You are not being clever. You are being fraudulent, and the dice will always expose fraud.
The report does mention that, and I quote, "Sometimes you might have nothing, but you could just throw a lie out there. Pretend to be strong where you're really not."
And when the dice roll, the lie is exposed. That is the fundamental problem with this white room thinking. It assumes your opponent is an irrational actor. It assumes they will flinch. But the ledger does not flinch. The math does not flinch. Next point. This poker nonsense is giving me a migraine.
Moving on, senior auditor, the next section of the Happy Krumping transcript deals with the concept he calls pain avoidance.
Pain avoidance. Sounds like something a guardsman worries about right before the commissar arrives to deliver a motivational speech.
He describes it as a neurological phenomenon. He says, and I quote, "When the game gets stressful, the brain stops looking for the winning move and looks for the move that hurts the least."
Hurts the least. Go on.
He argues that players make half commits to protect their ego. They don't want to be seen as obviously wrong, so they play passively. They hide their best units because they are afraid of losing them.
Civilian fragility. They think the pain is in their head. They think the pain is emotional, a bruised ego.
Is it not, sir? The fear of losing face, the shame of having your favorite beautifully painted model removed from the table.
The pain is financial, scribe. It is asset depreciation. Pull up the Baneblade file. Asset class, super heavy, Lord of War. Let us conduct a forensic audit of why a player might hide this particular 11-gun behemoth. Compare the fiscal year of 9th edition against the current 10th edition projections.
Retrieving file. Ah, here it is. In 9th edition, the Baneblade was a portfolio management asset. You purchased a base chassis for a set number of points, and then you bought individual upgrades, sponsons, missiles, hull weapons, based on your tactical needs.
Exactly. Active resource management. It allowed for a lean capital expenditure. You only paid for what you needed. If you couldn't afford the side guns, you didn't buy them. You kept your overhead low. Now, what about 10th edition?
In 10th edition, it appears to be a fixed asset overhead. You pay a flat 480 points for the maximum asset configuration. You pay for all the sponsons, all the last cannons, all the heavy bolters, whether you intend to use them or not.
You are paying for a luxury suite in a hive city that has already been condemned. The pain the player feels isn't fear of looking wrong. It is the cold, sinking realization of ROI failure. They spent $170 real-world currency, scribe, the only tie that truly matters to the manufacturer, and 480 army points on a model that is functionally a paperweight.
A paperweight, sir. but it is toughness 13. It is a rolling fortress. It has, as you said, 11 barrels of hell.
It is a frozen asset. Let's simulate a turn 1 movement phase to demonstrate why pain avoidance is actually bankruptcy avoidance.
Right.
Scribe, place the Baneblade asset on the audit grid.
It is deployed, sir. It looks very large. It takes up a significant portion of the deployment zone.
Good. Now, observe the ruins asset class. In the current tournament packet, the Pariah Nexus fiscal year, these ruins are placed specifically to prevent long-range firing lanes. They are the walls of the maze. The Baneblade is roughly 5 inches wide and 9 inches long. Scribe, take your measure. What is the gap between those two mid-board ruins?
It is 3.8 inches, sir.
3.8 inches. Can the 5-inch wide tank fit through the 3.8-inch gap?
No, sir. The laws of physics would expressly forbid it.
So, to move up the board and engage the enemy, the player must go around. He must flank. But the Baneblade only moves 9 inches. If he has to go around that large building, how much forward momentum does he actually gain?
Yeah. Well, he spends 4 inches of his move going sideways, then he can pivot and go 5 inches forward. He effectively moves only 5 inches toward the enemy line.
5 inches. For a 480-point investment. Meanwhile, look at the opponent's infantry assets. They possess the keyword breachable. What does that mean in financial terms, Scribe?
It means they can move through the solid walls of those ruins as if they are not there.
It's insider trading. They ignore the market barriers that hamstring your biggest asset. So while your super heavy investment is performing a 3-point turn for 2 full game turns, trying to find a single clear line of sight, the opponent's cheap disposable infantry are just walking through walls, scoring points, and laughing at your supposed pain avoidance.
So when the player half commits, as the report says, or holds the Baneblade back in their deployment zone,
they are not protecting their ego. They are protecting a bad investment. They are terrified of the ROI realization. They know if they move it out, it will get blocked by a wall, see nothing, and then get tagged in combat by a 40-point unit of trash that shuts off all 11 of its guns. They are realizing in real time that they have allocated 25% of their total capital to an asset that cannot generate revenue, in this case, victory points. It is not cowardice, happy crumping. It is risk management of a failing portfolio.
That puts a very different spin on his analysis. That a happy crumping report suggests players will say, I didn't have a choice to avoid responsibility for their actions. You're saying?
I'm saying they didn't have a choice. Once you put that specific, inefficient Baneblade model on that specific dense table, the bankruptcy was already filed. The decision that mattered was made at the hobby store, not on the tabletop in turn 2.
I understand, sir. This is a very different analytical framework.
What is that noise? Scribe. Is that the ventilation unit again? Hit the percussive maintenance right.
I think it's the budget cut, sir. The Departmento Analytica reduced the maintenance servitors to a part-time rota. The machine spirit of the primary atmospheric regulator is displeased.
By the throne, we are conducting a forensic audit on the very nature of tactical reality, and I have to shout over a rattling fan. And this recap. Have you tasted this sludge today? It tastes like promethium runoff filtered through a sweaty sock.
It was the economy blend, sir. The label said it was made from recycled organic matter.
Corpse starch and despair. That is the flavor profile. You know what? Let's take this frustration to the public. You, yes, you, the taxable asset listening to this broadcast, go to the comment section right now. Tell me I'm wrong. Civilians always think they can audit the books better than a senior perfectus. They think they know tactics. They think they have some strategy I've never considered. Type out your little counter arguments about how your Baneblade totally dominated a casual game against a child playing Tau for the first time. I want to see them. I want to flag them for fiscal heresy. Go on. I'll wait.
Are you actually waiting, sir?
No. Time is money, Scribe, and that fan is costing us efficiency. Back to the ledger. We have arrived at the core of the audit, the main event. The fundamental conflict between white room math and the cold, hard reality of the corporate mandate.
That would be the section on the importance of commitment.
Read the propaganda. Let's get through this.
Happy Krumping states, you need to commit fully to know if a strategy works. He says that half measures prevent you from getting clear feedback on your decisions. He uses the example of charging into combat. If you're going to charge, you must send everyone in. Don't hold back.
Commitment. He thinks you win by believing in yourself. He thinks if you just push all your chips into the middle of the table, the universe will somehow reward your bravery.
Does it not, sir? The old texts say fortune favors the bold.
The only universe that rewards you is the one where you signed the licensing agreement. Scribe, pull up the file on the Titus asset. We're going to cross-reference this with the Plasma and Scepter audit data.
Bringing up the complete dossier on Captain Titus and the Wardens of Ultramar.
This is the $50 million corporate mandate, Scribe. Look at the revenue streams. The Space Marine 2 video game generated £332.1 million sterling. This is not just a game piece. This is a fiscal anchor for an entire product line. Games Workshop cannot, under any circumstances, allow Captain Titus to be bad on the tabletop. He is protecting a massive revenue stream. He is a too-big-to-fail bank.
So his rules, they must reflect his financial importance.
His rules reflect his plot armor. Happy Krumping is talking about psychology. I'm talking about the zombie loop. Read the mechanics for the Honor of Ultramar ability. Read it slowly.
It says, each time this model is destroyed, roll 1d6. On a 2+ math, it is not destroyed. And then at the end of the phase, if it is still on the battlefield, it regains up to D3 lost wounds for each enemy model it destroyed this phase.
Stop right there. Do you understand what you just read, Scribe? It is an infinite asset cycle. Now compare this to our poor depreciated Baneblade or even the Plasma Inceptors from the other report.
Well, the Plasma Inceptors, they are a high-output asset. Very efficient at liquidation, but they have the hazardous drawback. If they roll a 1 on their hit roll, they self-liquidate. They die.
Exactly. A Plasma Inceptor is a high-risk, high-yield asset. You commit them, they kill something, and there is a 16% chance they explode. That is fair market trading. There is risk and reward. Now look at Titus. He and his bodyguard unit cost roughly 8.5 points per wound, which is already an excellent rate. But that's deceptive. Because when he dies on a 2+, he just doesn't. And then if you're foolish enough to fight him with infantry, he generates new capital. He prints wounds out of thin air.
It creates a situation where the opponent's investment in trying to kill him is... It's just negated.
It's the very definition of a subsidized victory condition.
Sure.
Happy Krumping tells the listener, you need to commit. And I say, no, you need to purchase the unit that has the cheat codes written directly into its stat line. You don't win because you had the mindset to commit your forces. You win because you bought the $94 box set that turns death into a minor inconvenience.
This does seem to invalidate the poker analogy even further. In poker, if you lose all your chips, you are out of the game. You don't get to roll a 2+ and take your opponent's chips anyway.
Precisely. If poker worked like 40k, I would shoot the dealer, take the entire pot, and the casino manager would give me a coupon for a free drink because I'm the main character in an upcoming video game. This is the Titus mandate. It proves, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that the game is not a simulation of combat. It is a simulation of market mechanics.
But, sir, surely there are tactics to deal with this. The Happy Krumping report mentions screening and the use of chaff units.
Ah, yes, the chaff fallacy. Let us audit this particular piece of so-called wisdom.
The transcript reads, use disposable units to slow down an enemy. The core idea is to trade a low-value unit, say 60 points of Imperial Guardsmen, to block a high-value unit like Titus. You prevent him from reaching your more valuable assets. It's the standard chess, poker, bluff, or trade. You refer to them as road bumps in a previous audit.
Incompetence. Sheer, unadulterated incompetence. In the era of the Titus mandate, screening is tactical suicide.
Suicide, but it delays him, doesn't it?
Think, scribe. Use your cogitator. We just established the health battery theory. If Titus resurrects by killing models, what are you doing when you feed him 10 weak disposable guardsmen?
You're giving him targets.
You are giving him fuel. You are not trading. You are refueling his life lube. Let's walk through the transaction step by step. Titus is down to 2 wounds. He is a distressed asset. He is vulnerable. You, the clever poker player, charge him with 10 guardsmen to tie him up.
Yes, he has to kill them. It takes time. He wastes his activation on them.
He swings his chainsword. He kills, let's say, 8 guardsmen. What happens at the end of the phase?
Well, the guardsmen are removed from play.
Oh, indeed. He rolls 8 dice, 1 for each model he killed. Statistically, he should get at least 4 successes. He regains 4 D3 wounds. You haven't delayed him. You have fed him. You sent him a meal delivery service right to his front door. He ends the turn healthier than he started, and now he uses the pile-in and consolidate moves-free movement provided by the rules to get 3 inches closer to your tank anyway. You paid 60 points to heal your enemy and boost his movement speed. That is not a road bump. That is corporate sabotage of your own army.
That is horrifying. It turns decades of conventional tactical wisdom on its head.
It is financial malpractice, and it gets worse. Look at the Wardens of Ultramar, his bodyguards.
They are 90 points for 20 wounds a T4, 3+ save bodies. That is incredibly cheap. 4.5 points per wound.
It's sweatshop pricing. But look at the damage allocation rules. They act as an ablative shield with a no spillover tax.
A spillover tax.
Say you hit them with a railgun, the ultimate anti-tank weapon. A high investment, high damage asset. It does, let's say, 10 damage. You shoot 1 warden. He has 4 wounds. What happens to the other 6 points of damage?
The warden model is removed. The excess damage is lost. It just vanishes.
Tax evasion. You hit them with a fiscal sledgehammer, and it kills a fly. The rest of the force of the blow vanishes into the warp. You are spending high-value currency, your big guns, to remove penny stock assets. It is a terrible exchange rate. You shoot a 4-wound model with 12 damage, and 8 points of your investment pure profit evaporates into nothing.
And the report, it mentions something called Strategium Command. I didn't understand the full implication.
It's the ability to redeploy 3 units after both sides have already set up their entire armies. Happy Krumping talks about reading the opponent. Oh, look at his face. Is he bluffing? Is he deploying heavily on the left flank? Who cares? Titus simply rewrites the board state after you have already committed your own assets.
So if I analyze his deployment and set up my army to counter him on the left flank,
he just picks up his entire $50 million brick of a unit and moves it to the right flank. He is cheating at the movement phase before the game even starts. This is why the psychology argument is such a farce. You cannot out-psych a man who can move the goalposts after the game has already begun.
It does seem overwhelmingly weighted in favor of these new subsidized assets.
It is a corporate merger on the tabletop. You bring your legacy army, your sense of fair play, your poker face, and you get crushed by a licensed property that has a marketing budget larger than your entire planet's gross domestic product.
This brings us, I believe, to the final piece of advice from the Happy Krumping report, a section he has titled, Owning the Outcome.
The checkout counter philosophy. Yes, let's hear it and be done with it.
He says, if you made the decision, you own the outcome. Don't say, I didn't have a choice. Ask yourself, what decision would I not make again? He encourages players to take personal responsibility for the loss in order to facilitate learning. He says, and this is another quote, don't blame the dice. Blame your decision to put yourself in a position where the dice mattered.
Rejected. Rejected. Utterly and completely rejected.
Sir, it sounds like reasonable life advice, at least on the surface.
For life, maybe. If you decide to marry a Drukhari and get tortured for a century, yes, you should probably own that decision. But for Warhammer 40,000, it is a scam. He assumes the critical decision was made on turn 3. Oh, I shouldn't have moved my tank there.
Yeah.
No, the decision, the one that actually mattered, was made months ago at the hobby desk.
The purchase phase, sir.
The purchase phase. The real pain avoidance happens at the register. The choice between the $170 Baneblade, a bad ROI asset, and the $94 Titus box, a high-yield subsidized asset, is the only psychological moment that matters. If you chose the Baneblade in the current fiscal meta, you failed the audit before you even opened the box.
So asking, what decision would I not make again?
The answer should be, I would not buy a legacy model that Games Workshop is clearly trying to phase out in favor of its new licensed hero. That is the decision. True ownership is not staring at the board wondering why you lost. True ownership is magnetization.
Magnetization, you mean? Putting tiny magnets in the arms of the model so you can swap their weapons.
Asset liquidity, scribe. Listen to me closely. This is the only financial advice that will save your soul in this game. If you use plastic glue to attach the weapons to your crisis battle suits, you are creating a fixed asset. You are cementing your portfolio into a single configuration.
But the glue is stronger, sir. It's a more permanent bond.
The glue is permanent death. If the meta changes, if the biannual points update comes down from Holy Terra, from Nottingham, and makes the cyclic ion blaster illegal or grossly overpriced, you are ruined. Your $100 model is now a liability, a paperweight. But if you magnetize, you have liquidity, you can pivot your portfolio, you can adapt to market conditions, you can swap the overpriced guns for the newly efficient ones.
So you're saying the game is truly won or lost during the list building and even the model assembly stages?
I am saying that when you face a system breaker like Captain Titus, you didn't have a choice on the table. Happy Krumping wants you to feel guilty. Oh, I played badly. No. You were fiscally negligent for bringing a knife to a corporate merger. You didn't fail to commit. You failed to read the quarterly earnings report. You failed to realize that the plasma inceptors were the math-correct choice over the cool-looking but mathematically insolvent Reaver squad.
It creates what you might call a guru paradox, doesn't it?
Exactly. The guru tells you it's all in your mind. Control your fear. Commit to your decisions. But the auditor tells you, check the math. Read the financial statements. If you walk into a buzzsaw, the problem wasn't your mindset. The problem was the buzzsaw. Owning it on turn 3 is just a civilian's way of admitting they failed to perform due diligence on the current meta before the game even started.
That is a very bleak outlook, Senior Auditor.
No, it is honest.
Is this the noir outro phase of the audit, sir?
Look at the shelves behind me, scribe. Filled with the files of dead units, box knots, firstborn Marines, wyverns, heroes of a bygone fiscal age.
The liquidation pile.
Civilians like Happy Krumping, they want to believe, they have to believe. They want to believe in heroism, in skill, in the power of the individual. They want to believe that if they are clever enough, brave enough, they can take their favorite models, their painted toy soldiers that they spent hours shading and highlighting, and win against the odds. They need to believe the galaxy is fair.
Is it not?
The forensic reality, scribe, is that the Golden Throne is not powered by psychic energy. It is powered by contracts, by licensing deals and quarterly growth projections. This game is a market-driven simulation. Old soldiers' legacy units are liquidated to make room for the new licensed heroes. It is the way of all things. The machine must be fed. The line on the graph must go up.
So is skill dead, sir? Does it mean nothing?
Skill exists, but it is not the skill of the general on the battlefield. It is the skill of the accountant in the office. It is the skill of recognizing which way the wind of commerce is blowing before you invest your time and money. Happy Krumping teaches you to play the game on the table. I am teaching you to play the game in the ledger, because that is where the war is truly won.
That is a heavy burden, sir.
It is the burden of knowledge. Now, if you wish to survive the next fiscal quarter, if you wish to avoid being liquidated like a non-magnetized Baneblade, for the love of the Empire, tap that like and hit subscribe. It is the only currency the machine spirit of this channel truly recognizes.
And the comment challenge, sir. Should I monitor the data feeds?
Yes. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me you want a grand tournament with your feelings. I need a good laugh while I review these tax returns.
Shall I close the file, Senior Auditor?
Close it. The audit is complete. Dismissed. Pay your tithe, citizens.